Welcome to our program on Kardec Radio.
Hello, beloved friends, and welcome once again to another Divine Loss program. We are delighted to be here yet again under the guidance of Master Jesus and the mentors from on high to continue studying question 1009 posed by Kardec. The question involves understanding whether or not punishments are eternal. God is so merciful that under the guidance of Master Jesus, God has allowed many illuminated spirits to answer the same question so as to leave us with absolutely no doubt about the fact that God is love. Are we able to feel God's loving presence in our lives? Tonight, we have the answer, or rather, the illuminated dissertation written by the Spirit of the Apostle Paul, explaining very logically why punishments are not eternal and why such a premise is a negation of God's love. So we are blessed to know, beloved friends, that we can count on Master Jesus and all of his disciples and messengers. For Master Jesus himself has incarnated on earth to personify and live God's loving laws. So let us now feel God's love as we study the Apostle Paul's answers together. Let us then begin. To the question of whether or not punishments are eternal, the Apostle Paul writes the following dissertation. Humans, he writes as follows. The objective of humankind is to gravitate towards divine unity. For divine unity to occur, three things are necessary: justice, love, and knowledge. There are three things that are contrary to them and oppose this unit. They are ignorance, hatred, and injustice. I must tell you that you lie about the fundamental principles when you compromise the idea of God by exaggerating his severity. Furthermore, you doubtly compromise it when you allow the spirit of the creature to think that the creature itself possesses more clemency, more gentleness, more love, and true justice than you attribute to the infinite being. You then destroy the very idea of hell by rendering it as ridiculous and unacceptable to your minds as the horrendous spectacle of the executions, the burnings at stake, and the tortures of the Middle Ages is to your hearts. At a time when blind reprisals have been forever banished from human law, do you expect to uphold them as ideal? Believe me, brothers and sisters, in God and in Jesus Christ. Believe me, and either resign yourselves to letting all the dogmas you hold to be unalterable perish in your hands, or breathe new life into them by opening them up to the benevolent explanations good spirits are now giving concerning them. The idea of a hell, when its glowing furnaces and boiling cauldrons might be tolerated or admissible in a mythical age. In the 19th century, however, it is nothing more than an empty phantom that only serves to frighten little children who will no longer believe in it once they have grown up. If you persist, if you persist in such a frightening mythology, you will endanger disbelief, the origin of every sort of social upheaval. I tremble at the idea of an entire social order shaken and crumbling upon its very foundations for lack of a penal sanction. People of ardent and living faith, vanguards of the day of the light, let us join efforts not to maintain old fables that are now discredited, but to revitalize the true penal sanction under forms that correspond to your customs, your sentiments, and the enlightenment of your era. Who, in fact, are the guilty? Those who, through a transgression, through a wrong impulse of the soul, have distanced themselves from the objective of their creation, which consists in the harmonious cultivation of goodness and beauty as idealized by the human archetype, the God man, Jesus Christ. What is punishment? It is the natural consequence of that wrong impulse, the amount of pain necessary to dissuade the guilty from wrongdoing through the trials of suffering. Punishment is the goad that arouses the soul through its affliction to turn toward itself, to return to the path of salvation. The objective of punishment is none other than rehabilitation and redemption. Waiting punishment to be eternal for a wrong which is not eternal is to deprive it of its reason to exist. Truly I say to you, stop comparing eternity in terms of the good, which is the essence of the Creator, with evil, which is the essence of the creature, an approach that ends up creating unjustifiable penalties. Rather, affirm that the gradual diminution of punishments and penalties through successive reincarnations, and you will consecrate divine unity through reason and sentiment. Paul the Apostle. So, beloved friends, we are blessed to hear and get to know the explanation of this enlightened spirit who surrendered himself to the Christ. He surrendered himself to the Christ out of love and because of love. And love is the very pillar through which he dismantles the concept of eternal punishment. As Paul the Apostle has just explained to you and I, there is no such a thing because punishments are not such. They are but the consequences of our own actions. And God only allows for us to receive a fraction of the consequences of our actions, because these are opportunities for us to redress our mistakes and thus learn from them. So God allows our mistakes to be the very propelling force through which we may renew, begin again, and learn from the situation. So, for God, mistakes are opportunities, tools for our very own rehabilitation. And Paul the Apostle lived this divine principle, for at first he persecuted the Christ. Later, when he learned that he misunderstood the loving proposal of God, he didn't surrender himself to moral misery and incarcerated himself in an invisible jail of eternal punishment. No, rather, he redressed his wrong perceptions by doing the good, by spreading the good, by speaking the good, by multiplying the good, not only on his own behalf, but on the behalf of the collective. So you and I are tonight receiving the very same invitation. No longer, beloved friends, are we going to carry guilt in our hearts. We are rather going to redress this emotion by permeating it with love, because God only allows for us to make mistakes, knowing that they will serve later on when we are more mature as stepping stones for our own progress. So let us learn, beloved friends, to recognize signs of God's love in our lives and in our own very choices. And let us take the opportunity, as did Paul the Apostle, of this blessed reincarnation and multiply the love that is given to us by sharing it with the collective. How may we do so? We may share with our friends, with our family members, with our co-workers, with people in our circle of action, that punishment is not eternal, that God is love. Let us lead a life where we ourselves may become instruments of God's love through a kind word, through a loving action, through joining a project of the good, through thinking the good, through praying for the good. Let us join forces in the good, because we have come to the good, from the good rather, and we will return to the good to multiply the good, because only the good is eternal. Dear friends, let us literally take this truth to heart, shall we? Take it to heart and allow it to permeate our thoughts, feelings, choices, emotions. And let us develop every day an agenda of the good. When we wake up, let us thank God for the opportunity. When we go to work, let us pray for the people in the highway. When we are at work, let us wish everyone well. And let us not miss the opportunity to act out of love for everyone, like ourselves. is a child of God. What a beautiful lesson of hope to know, beloved friends, that no punishment is eternal. Rather, punishments are a sign of God's love. They are not meant to hurt us, but rather to allow for us to learn to act more positively for our own growth through the pedagogy of contrast. God is so beautiful. God is so good. Let us thank God for the perfection, the loving perfection with which God guides all of our lives. And let us embrace God's loving proposal for you and I. Many beautiful blessings, dear friends, and our thoughts of gratitude to Master Jesus, to Kardec, and to Paul the Apostle for bringing this message of beautiful hope so that we can all nourish our souls together. Bye for now, dear friends. Many, many blessings.